Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back to the channel. I'm Katja and today we're diving into a magical and heartwarming novel, The Full Moon Coffee Shop by Main Mochizuki, translated by Jesse Kirkwood, who is a translator that I really rate for Japanese into English. In fact, I always find my inspiration for my next cozy fiction by searching Jesse's name. Now, if you love cats, cozy vibes, and a dash of astrology, this one could be right up your alley. But there is a quirky twist, and I'll get to that later. We'll start first with a fun fact about cats in Japan. In fact, I even did a video for this. The Full Moon Coffee Shop takes the belief in Japan that cats are a symbol of good luck and a myth of cats repaying kindness, and really leans into that to create a unique creative direction for the story or collective stories. Imagine being kind to a cat and then in the future having that repaid in a magical way, um, in a cafe under the full moon. Oh, and by the way, tonight we've got a super moon here in the UK, which makes this the perfect time to talk about the book. And it's not a coincidence, it's just me being totally a fixed sign and enjoying my planner traits. And if you have no idea what that means, it will make sense later. So, why I picked up the book. Honestly, the concept hooked me right away. We've got Talking Cats, a magical cafe that helps people in um, their problems. They're at life's crossroads. Cozy magical realism. I was all in. So as soon as the audiobook was released, I jumped on it. And the story fits perfectly into my favorite autumnal genre, cozy vibes. I've also been loving what the publisher Brazen has been putting out. So let's step into this whimsical world under the Kyoto moon. Remember that charming myth about cats returning kindness? Well, in this story, the repayment comes in the form of an invitation to the Full Moon Coffee Shop, a mystical cafe that only appears under a full moon exactly when someone needs it most. And as the story unfolds, we learn that these invites aren't random. There's a clever reveal at the end that ties everything together. Our main characters, they're dealing with some very relatable life issues. A screenwriter with creative block, a movie director stuck in a romantic rut, a hairstylist with big dreams but no direction, and more. Each person gets their time in the cafe guided by talking cats named after planets like Pluto, Venus, and Saturn. In fact, Saturn really sticks in my mind. And these cats analyze the characters' star charts to help them navigate their personal challenges. So, what really makes the story cozy is the way that it blends ordinary struggles with a touch of magic. It's not your typical here's a coffee and a pep talk kind of cafe. Instead, it's more like here's a cat to guide you and a personalized star chart to help you figure out where you went off track and what the challenges are for you personally. I thought this was such a clever twist on personal growth and self awareness, but with that astrological twist to it. So, looking at astrology and the story structure, if astrology isn't your thing, you might find that the star charts and planetary alignments that they talk about here all gets a little overwhelming. So while I don't get the intricacies of astrology myself, it didn't take away from the story for me, and in fact inspired me to pull up my own birth chart. And it turns out that I've got a Scorpio sun, so shout out to my fellow Scorpios, but also more. So there's a schoolmate that I had in a different class to me who misguessed my star sign back in the day. She was very much into astrology and guessed a lot of people right, but I totally thwarted her. Um, but I know why. Because she guessed that I was a Taurus, and my fixed sign turns out to be a Taurus. And then she guessed that I was Aquarius, and turns out my moon sign is. So if you believe in this stuff, maybe that's where she went off track, while remaining sort of on track, if that makes sense. Now, whether you think astrology is pseudoscience or thought provoking, the book definitely encourages some introspection, which I found to be a really cool element. The structure is similar to other Japanese cozy fiction with four interconnected short stories. Each character gets their own moment in the cafe, and by the end, the stories tie together in a really lovely twist. So if you've read Before the Coffee Gets Cold or We'll Prescribe You a Cat, this format will feel familiar. So what did I love most about the Full Moon Coffee Shop? Well, it's the kind of book that makes you feel good. The whimsical talking cats, the cozy cafe, and the subtle life lessons all blend together perfectly. It's like a warm hug in a book, and we all need that sometimes. However, I did find myself wishing for a little bit more character development, and not in the sense that the characters weren't done well. The opposite, they were done really well, so much so that I didn't want the stories to end before going on to the next one. I would have had a much better time spending even more time with them. But that's a really minor quibble. The book moves on to the next person, and again, you have the sense of, oh, I really find them interesting, and then you move on to the next. So I'm hoping that with future books in the series, perhaps we'll go back to these characters, or maybe they're going to introduce new ones. I don't know. I'd love to know if anyone has read the full series in Japanese. I know there's 4 more books. Do they go back to these characters? Do they have new characters? Yeah, I went with the audiobook format, and all 3 narrators did an exceptional job. So the listening time was 5 hours, 18 minutes, and I found it super easy to listen to on my walks with Milo. So I can highly recommend the audiobook. And remember how I said there was a quirky exception? Well, it isn't about astrology, it is about the cats. They're not your typical fluffy companions. They're tall, humanoid cats wearing aprons, serving drinks, and offering life advice. It's definitely a unique twist, which I was fine with, but I think some readers might find it a little bit too out there that they're not the traditional looking cats. But I can see why this was done. It adds to the magic and charm of the story, especially since these cats actually serve custom made drinks to each of the characters, a detail that I absolutely loved. So, if you're looking for a cozy, really whimsical read that blends astrology, surprisingly, talking cats, and gentle life lessons, then I think the Full Moon Coffee Shop is worth picking up. It's a great mix of magical realism, feel good vibes, and perfect for fans of Japanese cozy fiction. So let me know in the comments if this one really vibes with you. Does it tickle your fancy? Will it be on your TBR? Or does it sound too quirky? And if you've read any other cozy novels that hit you in the feels like this one does, or the one that I reviewed previously, drop your recommendations. And if you enjoyed the review, I always forget this bit, don't forget to like and subscribe for more bookish content. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy reading.